Mariah Johnson was no stranger to struggle. Life had been unkind, but she carried the burden with quiet dignity. Every day, she fought to keep her family afloat, working 2 jobs, navigating a world that often overlooked her. But through it all, one thing remained constant: her love for her son, Jordan. He was her reason for waking up every day with hope in her heart, no matter the odds stacked against them. When Jordan was born, Mariah had dreams of becoming a teacher, of inspiring young minds and molding the future. But those dreams, like many, had to be postponed when her partner walked away, leaving her to raise their son alone. The weight of single motherhood was heavy, but Mariah knew that her purpose now was clear. There was no time for self-pity, no time for regret. The future of her son was at stake. A flashback sequence shows Mariah in her early 20s, working late into the night while attending college, the only light in the room coming from a small desk lamp. She juggles schoolwork and motherhood, never giving up even when exhaustion sets in. Her dreams of becoming a teacher seem distant, but she keeps pushing forward. She worked tirelessly to provide for Jordan. She took on double shifts as a waitress, cleaned offices at night, and scraped together every penny she could. Each dollar earned was a step closer to a better life for her and her son. She was constantly tired, her hands rough from hard labor, but Mariah never stopped. For Jordan, she would do anything. But little did Officer Grant know, as he walked toward Mariah's car that fateful afternoon, that she wasn't just any struggling single mother. She was a force of nature, someone who would rise from the ashes no matter how hard life tried to knock her down. And Jordan? He wasn't just any child. He was a prodigy, a brilliant young mind who had already made a name for himself in the world of science. The camera zooms in on Jordan's face, his determined, intelligent eyes watching the scene unfold as Officer Grant approaches his mother. The tension between them is palpable. He clutches his phone tightly, knowing that this moment would change everything. Mariah never expected to be treated like a criminal. Her car, although old and worn, was her lifeline, the only thing she could afford after working endless hours. It was a reminder of her sacrifice, not something to be scrutinized. And yet, as she stood there, confused and humiliated, she couldn't help but wonder how it all came to this. How had one bad encounter turned into a nightmare? Officer Grant wasn't just doing his job. He was acting on assumptions, on biases that ran deep. He hadn't taken a moment to see the human being standing before him. Mariah, a mother who had worked so hard to provide a life for her son. Instead, he saw only suspicion. He saw only a black woman in an old car, and to him, that was enough to treat her like a criminal. As Mariah stands there, hands raised in compliance, the camera focuses on her tired eyes, now filled with confusion and hurt. Jordan, who has always been her pillar, watches in disbelief. His mother, the woman who had always shielded him from the harshness of the world, was now the one in danger. He couldn't let that stand. What Officer Grant didn't know was that Jordan was not just any 10-year-old boy. He had been quietly working on groundbreaking science projects that had already caught the attention of experts across the country. His work, his brilliance, had made him one of the youngest ever winners of the National Science Fair. But none of this mattered to Officer Grant. To him, Jordan was just another kid, just another potential threat. But Jordan was smarter than that. He knew his mother's innocence, and he knew he couldn't just sit idly by. He pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling not from fear, but from the weight of what he knew he had to do. He quietly recorded the incident, knowing that this video could change everything. This wasn't just a mother being falsely arrested. It was a statement. It was a stark reminder that people, particularly people of color, could be treated unfairly without reason, without evidence, simply because of who they were. The video Jordan records begins to circulate, gaining traction on social media as the hashtags #JusticeForMariah and racial profiling begin to trend. What started as a quiet moment of injustice quickly snowballs into a viral movement. What Officer Grant didn't realize was that the very thing he thought would embarrass Mariah was about to make her stronger than ever. Jordan's quick thinking had connected them to someone who could change their lives forever. Mr. Carter, a well-known attorney and close family friend, was more than just a lawyer. He was a powerful figure in the world of justice. The video that Jordan had sent him wasn't just a cry for help. It was the beginning of a battle for accountability. In the small town where the police station stood, news of Mariah's wrongful arrest spread like wildfire. The public outcry was overwhelming. Protests erupted. Community leaders, local activists, and ordinary citizens stood in solidarity, demanding justice for Mariah and an end to racial profiling. The rallying cry was clear. No one, no matter their race or background, should ever be subjected to the kind of treatment Mariah had endured. The spotlight turned quickly on Officer Grant. He thought he was just following procedure, just doing his job. But what he didn't understand was that his actions, fueled by implicit bias and racial profiling, had consequences far beyond the parking lot that afternoon. And now, with the public watching, he would have to answer for it. Grant's actions, as careless as they were, couldn't go unnoticed. His superiors, especially Chief Davis, couldn't ignore the scandal. The viral video of Jordan's plea for justice had brought national attention to the case. Jordan was no longer just a prodigy. He was the face of a movement, a voice calling for accountability, for change. Chief Davis, furious at the mess Grant had caused, stormed into the interrogation room, tablet in hand. The video was already viral. The hashtags were trending. The police department's credibility was on the line. Officer Grant, stammering and sweating, had no idea how to explain himself. He had misjudged Mariah. He had misjudged her son. And now, the entire world was about to see the cost of that mistake. Mariah, who had always been the quiet one, the one who took the blows and kept moving forward, had become a symbol. She had stood up in the face of injustice. Her fight, with Jordan by her side, was now everyone's fight. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about the thousands of people who had been treated unfairly because of their skin color. What Officer Grant didn't know was that this wasn't just a setback for Mariah. It was her comeback. The system had failed her, but with the help of Mr. Carter and the support of the community, Mariah was about to show them all what true strength looked like. The justice system was about to be held accountable. Officer Grant's fate was sealed. The video, Jordan's bravery, and the community's strength had all come together in a perfect storm of justice. But that was only the beginning. In the end, it wasn't just about the lawsuit. It wasn't just about the settlement. It was about the movement that had started in the parking lot of a small grocery store, in a moment of injustice that had turned into something much bigger. Mariah, standing strong with her son, had become an emblem of resilience. She had faced hardship her whole life, but now her story was sparking change. And though the road ahead would be long, one thing was clear: no matter what, they would rise. And so, the fight continued. One voice, one act of courage, one viral video. This was how the tide began to turn. The people had spoken, and justice was on its way,